Okay, I have 8 o'clock. We'll call the Redevelopment Commission meeting to order. Roll call. Ann McGinnis.
Here.
DJ. Here. Paul Buning. Here. Richard Wertz here. Ken Austin. Here. Christoph.
Here.
Everyone is in attendance. Before we move on to approval of the minutes, we'd like to take 1 minute and remember Marty Williams, who passed away last week. He was an intricate part of the Discover Downtown Franklin and the Farmers Market, and he will be missed as he was in a lot of the RDC meetings, he and Marty. So let's have a moment of silence in remembrance of Marty. Thank you. Moving on, the minutes of the June 15th meeting. Need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. There is no old business. Moving to new business. The Redevelopment Commission appointment to Franklin Development Corporation. You should have had a sheet, and our representative is Amanda Ott.
Yeah, so Amanda filled out Steve Woods' term, which was just a few months, ending last year into this year. So it's a 2-year term, and the current term expires at the end of this month. So she is agreeable to another term if you would so choose.
Any discussion, or would you like a motion to approve Amanda for another term?
So moved. Second.
So moved and second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Next is the tax impact for the annual presentation to the taxing units. Jeff Peters.
Thank you all for the opportunity to be here and to help. One of your requirements that you have as a redevelopment commission is to give an annual presentation to the underlying taxing units that you impact with your redevelopment commission activities in the establishment of your allocation areas. And part of that annual presentation is to show a tax impact of those underlying taxing units. So for you today, we have a report put together that looks at the tax impact for Franklin and Needham Township, as you have allocation areas that fall in both of those different townships. Because they are in different townships, it has different taxing district rates, so it has tax impacts. So we've shown those separately for Franklin and Needham to do the calculation, and then together it combines for each of those units of government what that tax impact could be. And then the last part explains what I'm going to walk you through right now so that you can keep this on file, share it with taxpayers for those underlying taxing units when they come up with those questions of, well, what you're doing, and when you capture that assessed value, what does that really do to my unit of government? So the first example in Franklin Township, we've got the taxing units and their assessed value and the tax rate for 2021. The combined tax rate for the county, township, schools, libraries, solid waste, etc. is 3.3879. And that's per each $100 of assessed value. Of those tax rates that are levied for the collection of the 2021 taxes, most of those amounts are driven by a statutory levy formula. So the amount does not change. And those are for typically the operational funds, the general funds of those entities. So if you were to add additional assessed value back to the tax base by not capturing some of your assessed value. You would drive down the tax rate, but you would not change the property tax revenue stream to all of those funds because they are based on a finite dollar amount that they're going to collect in 21. And that amount changes each year for them based on statutory growth formula. In contrast, there are a couple funds that by statute are rate driven. And in your example, one of those is Johnson County's Cumulative Capital Development Fund. So if you look into the rate-driven funds, there's a negative 0.0333. So for that Cumulative Capital Development Fund in Johnson County, it has a 3.33 cent rate. And if you were to not capture some of your assessed value and push that back into the tax base, Johnson County's CCD fund would net collect and levy more property tax dollars because of that fixed rate. Same scenario with Franklin City at 4.1 cents. So in this Franklin example, the 2021 TIF AV that's captured is the $78,088,320. And this example shows that if you did not collect that, what would happen to the tax rate? Well, it would fall from 3.3879 to, in your far right, 3.2175. If that rate were to drop by that amount, one of the other results would be that you would have fewer properties that reach the 1%, 2%, and 3% statutory tax caps. And therefore, each of these units of government would net collect more property tax dollars because fewer taxpayers would reach that threshold amount of where their taxes are capped out. So in the example of Franklin, the estimated reduction in circuit breaker by dropping from the 3.3879 to 3.27 or 3.2175 would be $799,821. That would proportionately benefit all the units in the taxing district based on their property tax rates. So down below, you can see in Johnson County, they would net collect an estimated $76,287. The city, an extra $326,853. The school, outside the referendum, because the referendum is not subject to the circuit breaker, there's no impact there. But for those other non-referenda funds in the school, the impact would be $373,152. In the bottom section, it looks at, for those two cumulative funds, which are the fixed rate funds by statute, the impact to Johnson County, if we were to add that other $78 million in assessed value to the tax base, they would collect another, or levy another, $26,003 in property tax. And each time we levy a dollar property tax, we have piggyback taxes that come along with that. Vehicle excise tax, when you go to the license branch and register your car and pay in that excise tax, it comes back to the taxing district for those groups of government that actually provide you service, so that your excise taxes for the vehicles come back and benefit you. Those piggyback taxes are estimated at about 9 cents on the dollar. So for Johnson County, it would be another $2,340 for total tax of property and piggyback taxes impacted at $28,344. Again, for the city of Franklin, same fund, different rate, its impact would be approximately $34,898. So for all of the Franklin Township taxing district, total impact of property taxes and circuit breaker would be the far bottom right-hand corner, approximately $863,063. On the next page for Needham, exact same methodology, different group of underlying taxing units, and the TIF assessed value captured here is approximately $89.6 million. The impact to the circuit breaker would be estimated at about $238,587. Tax impacts for property and piggyback taxes would be approximately $72,570. So for all of the Needham Township taxing district area, the impact would be approximately $311,157. So on the combined sheet, again, we've summed all those together. Total impact to Johnson County, approximately $160,000. To the city of Franklin, about $500,000. To the school, about $484,000. Total of all the units together, approximately $1.174 million. Then the second to the last page is commentary that, again, you can store this document and share it, and it walks through that explanation that I just gave you. And what I always like to leave people with in redevelopment commissions is the very last line of this talks about what it is that you do with those funds and how much you bring in versus the smaller amount of impact that is transferred onto those underlying tax units. You bring in about $5 million a year in revenue. This is the only structure that you can garner all that money from these different entities and do combined projects that are beneficial to the community in whole and the tax base as a whole. So when you look at that, I can harvest $5 million, my impact, if I were to give it all back, was only $1.2 million or less. I am so much better off as a community if I pick these projects that benefit all the entities and continue to grow the tax base. And you guys are a perfect example of that, as you've seen how your investments have spurred additional developments in places, some of which you've captured, some of which you've not. As you capture those, you can continue to do your economic development, redevelopment by investing those dollars. And you automatically spin off other things that you don't capture. When you put in and spawn retail type development, all the personal property that goes into those retail type developments, you don't capture and you can't capture. When you get into some of the commercial and industrial stuff out to the east, you can capture most of that personal property if you wish, but some of that you don't have to. If you let it go back to the tax base, that helps bring tax rates down all the way around. But like I said, the key I always think is looking at the difference between what you collect, what you impact, and the projects that you actually put in place and the assessed value that they spin off. So it's the only way that you can finance those types of things in Indiana. And with that, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Jeff, I think it's a nice presentation that analyzes this. Does any of the council have questions about the presentation?
Quickly, Jeff, as I understand, public document, so someone says, show me the numbers. See, they are.
Yes.
I assume so, but I can answer.
And we're required to invite the overlapping taxing units to this presentation every year. So they were emailed, notified of this meeting, and then Jeff's going to present this again to City Council at their August 2nd meeting. So there's 2 opportunities for them to also attend the presentation. But I went ahead and also emailed them the report. So if they couldn't attend, they could at least read it. But I haven't had any questions about it. See anyone here today, so a little frustrating that we try to spread the word and explain kind of how the process works, and don't get a lot of traction from the other taxing units.
That could be a good sign.
Could be. Sometimes that is a good thing.
It's been a great tool for the city of Franklin over the last few years with the development of the downtown, all of the other redevelopment. There's no questions. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Good luck on August 2nd. The next resolution, 2021-04, $371,375 for the Commerce Drive and Simon Road Roundabout Project. Mark, is that you?
That is me.
Yeah, we discussed this briefly at our last meeting, and we're given the go-ahead to advertise the resolution for this. This actually comes out of and would be paid for out of the US 31 district, so the wording is a little bit different on this one, but I think if you have any questions for Mark, he's happy to answer those. But this would be a 2023 project.
This would be a 2023 construction project. We would go ahead and start design as soon as we get a contract signed. The design portion, including right-of-way services, is $181,375. Then we also included the inspection fees at $190,000 in this. That's just so that we have all of the numbers up front, so that the redevelopment commission and the board of works understand what the total cost implications are. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Anybody have a question?
This doesn't cover actual construction itself.
It does not cover construction, that's correct. And this type of project is typically coming in construction cost in the probably up to $1.5 million range.
Mark, will this be done in the summer?
This would be-
So it doesn't impact the school?
Yes, that's correct. It would be done during the months of June and July.
Is that feasible to finish it in 2 months? Is that feasible?
Yes. It is. It would be open traffic. 100% of the work may not be done. There may be, grading, seeding, cleanup type activities that would have to be completed after school starts.
Any other question? Need a motion to approve? We'll open up for a public meeting for resolution number 2021-14. Are there any comments or questions?
Mark, I got one question, Mark. What kind of percentage increase are you seeing from construction costs for roundabouts over the last 2 years? Is it 20%? Is it 15%, 10%?
We really haven't seen any construction cost increases up to this point. All of the projects have been bid early this year and prior. So those cost increases from things like steel, oil, those types of things, they're not, on the roundabouts anyway, we're not seeing that. We have opened bids for paving projects and other types of road maintenance projects, and we're still getting very competitive bids. We're not seeing cost increases. So I expect that to change over the next several months if prices don't start to come back down.
Any other questions? Okay, the public meeting is closed, and now I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2021-14.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any question? All in favor? Aye. Moving to old business, Krista?
Yeah, just going back to that resolution, I did have that listed on your cash flow analysis at the bottom. Yeah, and then I put a note that it was coming out of the US 31 TIF with construction in 2023. Now that you have that resolution approved, I'll remove that from the cash flow and put it on to the actual financial report for the US 31 TIF. I may at some point want to start a cash flow similar worksheet for the US 31 TIF district if we get too many more projects, but right now mainly the bond is handling all of those, and I'm kind of just using the monthly report as that planning tool. I don't know that we need that yet, but sometimes I catch myself, okay, which one is this being paid out of, and making sure, it gets on the right, for the right fund, so. But as far as the June financial report is concerned, we did receive our property tax disbursements from the county, so that final amount is listed there. That's the actual amount received combined for all of the TIF districts. Pull that up for the audience here real quick, sorry. So that was, it was a little higher than anticipated, and that's always nice to see. I try to be a little conservative and just put the amount that we received last year. So it was just a little under 2 million last year. So this year it was the $2,250,508. And so you'll see on that next line, we received just a little over 2 million for the December disbursements last year. So that's what I have estimated in there. I got a little excited on the next line, the revenue year to date. Normally that's just interest and grant reimbursements, but that was showing at $538,000. So the reason for that was because of the sale of the Shell building was combined into that. So I went ahead and listed that separately. So that was $490,860. Just to kind of remind myself to pull that out every month. That affects obviously our receipts because I had that listed again on the cash flow. So you can see our year-to-date expenditures through the end of June was nearly $1 million, $942,000. But our estimated cash balance is looking really good. If we paid for all of these projects through the end of the year, which a lot of them won't be finished by the end of the year, but if we did, we would have a cash balance of $2,980,000. And then just listed all of the updated balances for each resolution below. So answer any questions on that if anybody has any.
One question on resolution 2021-04 Shell Building number 2 loan payment. We will not be making that.
We will not.
Okay.
No. So unless you want to rescind that resolution, which I guess we could do that, that will remain on there through the end of the year until that expires, until that resolution expires.
I don't know. Rob, what's your thought on that? Leave it?
I think it can stay.
Okay.
We don't have any kind of cash flow issues with it being on there, so I don't have any objections to leaving it on there either. The next one is the US 31 TIF District Financial Report, and so you can see the actual May, the north allocation area, those taxes that were received was $206,600, and then the south allocation area, $211,972. And I did see on the, I don't know if it was Tech Review or Plan Commission, but there is a proposed development at the northwest corner of Commerce in US 31, and that was included in that north allocation area. So as that property develops, those proceeds will come into this north allocation area as well. So that'll take a few years, but
That project, primary plat for that project is on the Plan Commission's agenda for tonight.
for tonight, okay. And I know I saw that, so that should increase that allocation area as well. I just have listed below the balance of, some of the projects that are not able to be paid for completely out of the bond. I will add that resolution to this financial report that was approved today for the Commerce and Simon roundabout. So that'll be an additional 300, I don't remember the exact amount, 371, something like that. But then you've got the cash balance, 968,000 there. Any questions on the US 31 report? The next one is the bond, the redevelopment bond that we have for the US 31 project and the amphitheater project. And then again, this just shows the negative balance because we have some of those projects that that need to come out of the US 31 district. But those are accounted for, so we still have cash in the bank even after all of these projects are paid for out of that US 31 district. The cash flow, we talked a little bit about this already, but you each have a copy. At the bottom is where that Commerce and Simon Road roundabout was located, so that'll get moved off of there. Mark did get the final numbers for the Orrin Wright parking lot, and I actually processed that claim this week. Originally, we thought that was gonna be, his estimate, I think, was 75,000. Then it was down to like, I think 36,000, but there was a change order.
The bid was 36,000.
Yeah.
The final change order was just balancing quantities.
Yeah.
And the final price came in right around 45,000.
Yeah, so I have that listed here. That actual amount was the 45,503. So that is listed on your cash flow. Jim Black Road, we're talking about a phase 2, so that was added at the bottom as projects under consideration. And I know originally we had talked about doing all of phase 2 at the same time, that the cost was gonna be $1.1 million, that was the estimate, and I don't know that we have the cash flow to do all of that at one time, so I know you're looking into breaking that down into maybe 2 phases.
That's correct, and we have also applied for community crossings funds for part of that project.
Okay, so
Part of phase 2.
yeah, so hopefully we'll be successful with community crossings, and then maybe we could do all of it at the same time if they pay for half of it. Isn't that usually the ratio?
Well, we have a balance left over from the original $1 million grant this year
Okay.
that we can apply for, so it's 230,000 is the max.
Okay,
So we would be able to increase that to pay for 50% of the 1.1.
okay. So do you think that would just still be broken into 2 sections then, even with the community crossings?
Yes,
Okay, but then that would allow us to do the balance the next year.
that's correct.
Okay,
If the mayor would like, we can always bid phase 3 as an alternate, and either accept the bid or not, depending on the cost.
so, yeah, so just stay tuned on that, I guess. I just wanted to kind of give you an update on that situation as far as
So
the cash
just to
flow.
add to that, if we did that as an alternate and we decided to go that route, then we would have the Board of Works, I would ask the Board of Works to fund the rest of it, so it could be a 3-way partnership. I think we did that on Forest Grove.
Forest Road was RDC and community crossings.
Yeah.
So I don't think I think the board did the design, paid for the design fees, but not even.
Okay.
The only other things, I updated the actual tax revenue, like I mentioned before, the $2,250,000, and then the interest income. I did get really excited again on this one because I took the total revenue, which included the show building, but I had already added the show building in above. So I thought we had another $490,000, but that was already separated out. So our numbers still look good. They just looked 490,000 better. So that is correct in here, but any questions on that one?
Looks good.
Okay. It's
Any
much more
public-
enjoyable to give the financial reports when none of the numbers are there.
It's a big difference from that. Are there any public comments or announcements? Just kind of going down there, Mayor.
I don't have anything to add. Franklin's going good, so I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
I was at the farmer's market and heard really positive, and there were a lot of discussion looking to the amphitheater. And I'm proud to be part of that, and I think the community is anxiously awaiting that project. Dana,
I don't have anything else to add, thank you.
Amanda?
We've got our big golf outing on Thursday, hoping the weather holds out for us. Things have kind of quieted down a little bit as far as like state projects coming through. Just typical summer, everybody's kind of settled back down. So kind of giving us time to prep for fall things like we've got a virtual fan tour. It's going to be happening in September with site selectors, things like that. So that's all I got.
Mark,
Good luck with that.
council. Well, the meeting will be adjourned at 7:32. 8:32.
Otherwise, you're really good.